The dark should fear me.
Who is the most twisted champion in Demacia? Without a doubt, it's VAYNE. Why is VAYNE so often labeled as ungrateful, psychopathic, and ruthlessly cold by players? Despite her popularity, her backstory has received almost unanimous criticism from the player base, a rare case even in Runeterra. The reason lies in her early years. VAYNE was once the daughter of a wealthy family. Her parents, who had traveled across Runeterra in their youth, eventually chose to settle in Demacia, a place secure enough for ordinary people. However, when VAYNE turned 16, her parents were killed by the demon Evelyn, a shadowy creature born in ancient times who takes delight in hunting and consuming the pain of others. When VAYNE discovered her parents' bodies, Evelyn hadn't yet left. She merely glanced at VAYNE without killing her, and, before disappearing, gave her a terrifying, desire-filled smile, planting the seed of vengeance in VAYNE's heart. No one believed VAYNE when she said her parents were slain by a demon. With Demacia's strict anti-magic laws and the protection of Petricite, people couldn't imagine an ordinary demon slipping into Demacia undetected. Most preferred to believe that a common bandit had murdered her parents out of greed. Realizing no one believed her, VAYNE decided to take matters into her own hands. But aside from her vast wealth, she had nothing. She tried to use her money to gather men to hunt down the demon. Yet in Demacia, those who held power either belonged to noble families richer than she was, or were occupied with undermining the anti-magic edicts. Therefore, even with her fortune, VAYNE could not amass a force strong enough to seek her revenge. She recalled her parents' stories of the Iceborn warriors in the Freljord, a northern land where these fierce fighters relentlessly opposed the Frost Witch, a being as powerful as a deity. She soon set out for the frigid north. At that time was pathetically weak. Though she'd had some sword training, her fragmented sessions amounted to less than half a day. Shortly after arriving in the Freljord, she fell into a troll trap. Just as the troll was about to make her its next meal, a spear whistled through the air, piercing its skull. The one who saved VAYNE was a middle-aged woman with gray hair named Frey, a hunter dedicated to slaying followers of the Frost Witch since her child was killed by them. VAYNE begged Frey to take her in as a student and teach her how to hunt dark creatures. Frey refused, uninterested in VAYNE's wealth and unwilling to take on such a burden. VAYNE resented her wealth even more, feeling it served no purpose beyond providing her with good food, large houses, fancy clothes, and exclusive social circles. She challenged Frey. If she won, Frey would have to take her as a student. If she lost, she'd serve as bait to draw out the Frost Witch's followers. Perhaps sensing VAYNE's determination, or perhaps finding a kindred spirit in her fellow Avenger, Frey eventually relented and took her in. Frey hadn't misjudged VAYNE. Though each training session left her bruised and battered, VAYNE would always get back up, continuing her practice in the frozen snow. Soon, Frey realized that this girl was not only a tenacious Avenger, but also a born killer, cold, ruthless, even to herself. You might defeat her in skill, but you could never break her spirit. Gradually, these two souls, both consumed by hatred, found solace in one another, their relationship evolving into something resembling a mother-daughter bond. VAYNE asked Frey to join her back in Demacia's borderlands, to hunt down demons wielding black magic, where they could save more families, and perhaps heal their own wounds better than merely killing the Frost Witch's followers. After some contemplation, Frey agreed, but that decision would change their lives. To protect VAYNE, Frey taught her many magical techniques. Although VAYNE mastered these, they made her uneasy, and she began to wonder why Frey knew so many forbidden techniques. When she turned 18, VAYNE killed her first demon at the Demacian border. She felt an intoxicating joy and thrill as its blood splattered over her. From then on, each hunt filled her with anticipation and elation, further deepening her bond with Frey. Those few months became the most emotionally fulfilling period of VAYNE's life, and their hunting grounds expanded across Valoran. One night, they were ambushed by a demon cultist. VAYNE was gravely injured when a spiked mace struck her shoulder. Frey shielded her, muttered an apology, then transformed into a massive wolf. Before the cultist could react, the wolf lunged and tore him apart. Afterward, Frey returned to her human form, her expression starkly different from the terrifying visage of moments before. She explained that she had become a shaman after her family's death, placing a curse on herself to gain power against the Frost Witch. This power required black magic, but she had never harmed the innocent. She had hidden this from VAYNE and only unleashed it to protect her. But before she could finish, VAYNE drove a crossbow bolt into Frey's heart. The moment she saw Frey's true nature, all her love for her vanished. Frey collapsed in disbelief, tears streaming down her face as she took her last breath. Yet VAYNE paid this no mind, erasing her mentor's kindness from her heart in an instant. Just as she had killed other demons, VAYNE relished in this kill, smiling, the first smile since her parents' death. Bear in mind, Frey had saved VAYNE multiple times, and her skills were ones that VAYNE had pleaded for her to teach. Though Frey was tainted by black magic, she'd never harmed the innocent and had saved many families with VAYNE. Yet, in the moment after saving VAYNE, Frey was slain by her. Later on, VAYNE joined the Sentinels of Light, where Lucian, Senna, and Gwen's influence gradually brought light to her heart, which only underscored Frey's tragic fate. What led VAYNE to become so twisted? The story suggests the trauma of her parents' murder was the catalyst, but perhaps Evelyn cursed VAYNE that night, intending to mold her into another demon. Evelyn might have planted a curse that awakens VAYNE's cold heart whenever she comes into contact with dark magic. According to Evelyn's biography, she's no longer content with inflicting pain on a few individuals. Her ambition is to plunge the world into agony, reminiscent of the Rune Wars. It's hard to overlook how the anti-magic edicts of Demacia are closely tied to the fates of its champions. But there is one Damatian champion untouched by magic, one who stands above it all. Shyvana, the half-dragon.
I will dance in their ashes.
Creating videos isn't easy. Subscribing to my channel is my greatest motivation.